Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So first and foremost, I look like the El Professor from the Money Heist, minus the beard and the mustache. Why? Because I have changed my specs, getting inspired from him. On a more serious topic, on today's video, I am going to talk about whether or not you should be studying or working abroad. What are the advantages, disadvantages, what is the best method of accomplishing that? And towards the end of the video, I will show you a very low cost method of applying abroad. Now you will have a natural question that Akshat, what gives you the legitimacy to speak about this topic? Okay, so here are a few quick facts about me. Number one, I have graduated from INSEAD, which is a top international MBA program. I have worked abroad, so I have that exposure of working abroad, living abroad. Third and finally, I have run a company called as My MBA Journey. It's a leading admissions consulting firm. I will put the links of that YouTube channel in the comment box so you can go and check it out. And through that, I have guided more than 500 students personally in terms of getting into top international programs. So with that practical perspective, I will be discussing whether or not you should be applying abroad, studying abroad, what are the advantages, disadvantages, and what is the lowest cost method of applying abroad sensibly. So let us get the discussion started. And the first obvious question that anyone would have is, should you consider studying abroad or not? Now there are advantages and disadvantages to making such a big decision because you will have to uproot your life from India, move to a different location, live there, figure out job situation, whatnot. So it's a big decision. It will come with its own advantages and disadvantages. So let me speak one by one. Let me start with the advantages first. So the first key advantage of studying abroad, whether it's at an undergraduate level or at a master's level, the exam pressure is less. Now, what do I mean by that? So let me use an example of applying to master's program. So if you are applying to an MS or an MBA program, then you will have to write what? You will have to write an exam called as GRE or GMAT. So these are called as standardized tests. And once you get a good score on the standardized test, then that score is valid for 5 years. So you can utilize that score at any point in time during that 5-year window and you can apply to universities. Now, what is the related advantage to this? So a related advantage is that unlike CAT, many people take a complete drop and prepare for the CAT exam, or they take a drop after their class 12th and prepare for IIT JEE. So this ends up leading to a lot of wastage of time. So you don't need to necessarily do it for your GMAT or GRE preparation. Another related point here is that there is a lot of flexibility associated with GMAT or GRE test. For example, it's not as if that GRE or GMAT exam will only happen in December of certain year. You can book these exams throughout the calendar year. Another related advantage of GRE GMAT is that you don't need to put your life on hold to prepare for these exams. You can easily prepare for these exams along with your full-time jobs. Now, final related point here is that many a times you would know that you might not be a very good test taker. There is no way that you would be hitting like a 99 percentile score on CAT. It is very difficult to do it. So under such circumstances, having a holistic admissions process helps you a lot. So when you are applying abroad, the universities abroad consider your GRE GMAT. They also consider your past academic record, what do you do professionally, what extracurricular activities, internships that you have pursued. So they have a more holistic admission process. Now, what is the advantage of this holistic admission process? That in case you're not a very good test taker, then it might make a lot more sense for you to fight on GRE GMAT vis-a-vis something like CAT. And even at an undergraduate level, you can take an exam called as SATs. So the flexibility of the test and its validity is a very important criteria and a primary advantage of applying abroad. The second key advantage of studying abroad is fairly simple, that they give you slightly more elite jobs. Now, I'm not trying to stir any nationalistic feelings here, but to cut the long story short, what ends up happening in India is that when it comes to elite jobs, there are very few elite jobs. Now, what do I mean when I say elite jobs? For example, if you're looking for very high paying jobs like investment banking, then there are very few front-end investment banking jobs in India. Similarly, the size of management consulting market, top tier management consulting market in India is very, very minuscule. For example, in the US, the size of management consulting market is at least 30 times bigger compared to that in India. So that is a very big difference to bridge. Again, when it comes to VC side of working, again, you will have fairly fewer number of jobs in India compared to somewhere in US or Europe. Now, the third advantage is the work culture. Now, this is a personal call. Many people might prefer to work in India. They might find the culture here more appealing. Or some people might want to go abroad, experience a different lifestyle, and that type of culture might appeal more to them. But quoting some statistics and fact, and I'm not trying to stir any nationalistic feeling here, it has been proven with data that the work-life balance in India is skewed and the pressure in Indian corporates is higher compared to people working abroad. This is a fact, not my opinion. This has been cited by a lot of publications. Additionally, one final point that I would like to bring to your notice is that when you are working abroad and if you end up returning to India, then your value goes up slightly. So think about it why, and I had done a LinkedIn post also, which I will link it here. You can go and read it. But just to quickly summarize that, what ends up happening is that if you are working abroad, then number one, you end up building slightly more unique experience. Now think about it this way, that if you're applying for job X in India, it will get so many applications from a lot of Indians. Why? Because in local context, it would mostly be Indians who would be applying. Now, if you have any kind of international experience and you are also applying for that job X, what ends up happening is that you get a certain edge in it. Why? Because your experience is slightly unique. Now, these points become even more prominent if you are applying to a company that is aggressively looking to expand abroad. So let us pick an example. For example, a lot of edtech companies in India right now, they are looking to expand their presence overseas. Now, if you have worked in geographies like Singapore or Malaysia, etc., and if you apply to a company that is looking to expand its presence there, then it becomes fairly easy for you to get that job. Why? Because you have relevant experience. Now, one counter argument that I keep on hearing from people is that, you know what, India is growing really fast. It has so many opportunities. You should continue to work in India. You should expand upon your experiences here. All valid points. I'm not trying to negate that. But think about it this way rationally, that, hey, you are an Indian citizen. If you go and work in the US for a couple of years and you return, so it's not as if that you will become ineligible for these type of jobs. Now, since I have shown you the rosy picture now, many of you would get inclined to study abroad. But let me also present some cons or disadvantages of studying and living abroad. So first and foremost, it might be a personal misfit. For example, many people, when they move abroad, they do not like the environment because it's a huge change and they might not fit into that environment. So under such circumstances, irrespective of the type of money that you might be making, because there is a personal misfit there, it might not make sense for you. So this is one. An additional point here would be that your family might need you back in India, and all those personal considerations might come into effect. The second key problem in terms of studying abroad is that the upfront cost in terms of education is slightly higher, especially for US universities. Consider, for example, the cost of studying at Wharton. It will easily come out to be 1.5 crores. Now, please do not get completely dissuaded by that fact. I will talk about it subsequently on the video. What are some avenues as to how you can bring this cost down? So I will have a discussion around that. But this is definitely a disadvantage that you have to put in a lot of money upfront, especially if you are going to a top tier program in the US, and this can act as a deterrent. No doubt about that. How you can solve this issue? Let me talk about a couple of solutions here. So one is that please apply to universities that are giving you a lot of scholarships. So let me talk about two examples here. So for example, when it comes to University of Virginia, Darden, they give up to 100% scholarships to Indian students. Does that mean that all Indians get 100% scholarship? The answer is no, but a few definitely get in, and some of my clients have also received it. Therefore, I know. At Yale School of Management, which comes under Yale University, again 5 to 7 Indians are picked, and this number can change from year to year. So 5 to 7 Indians are picked who receive between 50 to 100% of the entire amount as scholarship. Now these are huge scholarship amounts. What you need to do it to get this scholarship, probably I'll have to make a separate video on that. But to cut the long story short, I hope you get the perspective that one way of lowering your fees is apply to universities that have a history of giving a lot of scholarships. Now, second key way in which you can lower your expenses is fairly simple, that you apply to geographies or regions or areas where the university cost itself is very low. For example, if you are applying to the US, then the cost of education is really high. But if you are applying to some European countries, for example, let's say Germany, or if you are applying to Ireland, then the cost of university is relatively less. So you can definitely research more. And again, I will put some of the links in the description box for you to check out which are some of the low cost countries where you could go and potentially study. Third and final risk in terms of studying abroad is the visa related risk. For example, you might have heard that, Trump was against Indians and foreign workers, and he was just creating a very negative environment. So that led to a lot of outflow of jobs from America to some other countries. Now, who suffered? The international students suffered. Even before that, there were a lot of issues in the UK that Indians who were doing their degrees, they were not finding jobs in the UK. This was somewhere around 2015. Then UK changed its laws. Now Indians are finding much easier to find work there. But these type of visa/regulatory changes, they keep on coming up. And from that perspective, there is always a risk. But one quick note that I would like to give here is that if you are studying from a very good university, then it's not as if that you will not find jobs internationally. Instead of US, you might end up finding some job in the Middle East, or instead of Middle East, you might find some other job in some other location. So all that thing can be taken care of, provided that you are going to a good university. Which brings us to the second key question that I would like to quickly answer on this video, which is that in case you are interested in applying abroad, what are some of the key points that you must understand? So first and foremost, key point that you must understand is regarding the entire application process. So if you're applying, whether at an undergraduate or a master's or a PhD level, the application process of applying abroad is very, very extensive. So extensive means fairly big. So there are multiple stages to it. Usually the first stage is that you will have to take some kind of a standardized test. On top of that, you might have to take some language test also. For example, TOEFL or IELTS, depending on the course. Then you have to go to stage 2, which is college selection and course selection. So which specific college, which particular geography you need to apply to, how many colleges to apply to, because applying abroad is also expensive, even at the application stage. Just to give you an example, in order to apply for an MBA program abroad, let's say that you are sitting in 2022 and you are trying to fill your form for Harvard Business School. Then it will take you just $250 to $300 in terms of just filling out your application to Harvard. So that is how costly the process is. So step 2, which is college selection and course selection, becomes really, really important, because even here a lot of money outflow will take place. So you need to be considerate about that. Then comes the third stage. Third stage is the application stage. Now what happens in the application stage is that for some courses, the application is fairly straightforward. So they will say that, hey, send us your 500-word SOP. SOP means statement of purpose. It simply is an essay, roughly around 400-500 words, where they ask you that, okay, why do you want to pursue this particular course from this particular country, from this particular college? How will it add to your career? So these are some of the key points that you need to plug together on your SOP and then type it out and send it to the university. So 3 stages. Number 1, you have to take standardized test. This can also include your English language test. Number 2, you will have to do course selection and college selection and country selection. Third and finally, you will have to fill out individual applications to different schools and then apply. Once you go through these 3 stages, then there can be an interview process as well. So this is a fairly long process, as I was saying. Now, what are some of the key points that you should know from this particular stage? So first and foremost, your goal should be to go to best possible course and best possible university that you can go to. For example, if you're doing any business related course, then doing an MBA might make the most sense. Why? Because the recruiters would value that degree the most. Again, think about it this way, that you as an Indian are going abroad, let's say US or UK. Once you are there, you're already a foreign worker. Now, if you end up pursuing a random business degree from a random college, then why would the recruiter take you? So therefore, it becomes very important for you to do a proper course selection and a proper college selection. This is very, very important. Both the things are very important. On top of that, you need to understand the country dynamics also. For example, if you are getting the news that, you know what, again, Trump is in power, he's going to ban international students, whatnot, then probably it might not make a lot of sense for you to go to the US and spend like lakhs and lakhs in terms of pursuing your degree. So this is the first key point. The second key point is that you must plan your applications. So you should at least give yourself 2 months to all the way to 6-7 months. So this is the time frame that you should have before you even start thinking about your applications, because you will require that amount of time for test prep. Just to give you a general idea, I roughly prepared for like 45 days for my GMAT, and it took me a month to write my applications. But generally it can take even longer than that depending on your skill set. Then comes the third point about scholarships. Now, scholarships are given out in terms of rounds at majority of the places. If you apply in round 1 or round 2, so round 1 at majority of the international universities happen somewhere in September, October, and round 2 happens somewhere in January. So if you apply by these 2 rounds as an international applicant, then the chances of scholarships goes up quite dramatically. But if you are applying in round 3 or the absolute last round, then it is almost impossible to get any scholarship as an Indian applicant. So now comes the third and final part, that okay, I am interested in studying abroad. I see challenges, I see opportunities, I want to explore this path. What should I do next? Should I start working on my GMAT, GRE? Should I start aggregating more information? Should I go and speak with students? What not? What should I be doing? What should I be doing? Okay. So here is a step-by-step process. Number one, you should analyze your career. Look at the opportunities that you have in India. For example, let's say that you're working in India. You are making 8, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs salary. And you think that, you know what, if I go abroad, I can get better experiences. I can probably make more money. I can move to front-end investment banking, or I can move to top-tier management consulting. Then probably doing a degree from abroad might make a lot of sense for you. So please establish this answer very, very quickly. This is literally step number one. And here, who can help you out? Your colleagues can help you out. If you have a cousin who has studied abroad, they can help you out. Start contacting people on LinkedIn who can help you out. So this is stage one. Stage 2 is that you need to prepare for test. It could be GRE, GMAT, depending on whichever course university you are applying for. The exam might differ. So accordingly, start preparing for that exam. And honestly, as Indians, we would not struggle there. Now comes the third stage, and this is where you will end up losing insane amount of money. Now, what is this stage? That once you have an answer that, okay, I want to apply abroad, you have your test score also, which is very nice. Then you start figuring things out that, hey, which university, which course, which college, how to write my essays, what to do, what not to do, etc., etc. So what typically people do is that they go and hire admission consultants. Now this is a very expensive affair, and unfortunately the prices of admission consultants have been going up and up. For example, there are multiple admission consulting firms in India where for applying to one school, they end up charging even 2.5 lakh rupees, which is absolute madness. Now, why am I saying that this is a madness? Simply because of the fact that if you actually go and study that what was the word limit of the essays a few years back at Harvard, Stanford, all these colleges, there the word limit used to be 2,500 words per application. Now this has been cut down into half. So for less work, admission consultants are charging more and more money, and they are charging insane amount of money. So your obvious reaction would be that, okay, I'm not going to work with admission consultants. I'm going to do it on my own. Definitely you should try doing it. Now, in case you are interested in that, what are the steps involved? First and foremost, go speak with current students. Get a perspective. Number 2, improve your writing skills. Number 3, please write your own essays or statement of purpose. Please do not outsource that to anyone, because that will be counterproductive. You need to research the school really well and aggregate a school specific information. Now I have a simpler solution to all this, which I'm calling it as a study abroad bootcamp. I have already run one variant of this bootcamp and the feedback was amazing. So I'm starting the second cohort of this study abroad bootcamp. What will I be doing on this bootcamp? Number 1, I will coach you on how to write your own SOPs and essays. You will be able to do it on your own. So this is 1. Second, how to go about researching schools, different courses in detail. What is it that you need to take care of? How to prepare for interviews, how to structure the school research and pull it up onto your essays. So these are some of the organic things that I will be teaching you. This is not a spoon feeding bootcamp. I will not be writing your essays on your behalf. I will be coaching you on how you can do that on your own. So I will be teaching you on how to cook your own meal, because that is the way that I feel your best application will come out. This will be a live plus recorded bootcamp. So some chapters will be live, some chapters will be recorded, and it starts from 25th August onwards. If you need more information about this bootcamp, you can check the links in the description box, and I will see you on the next video.